Hello there, friends and internet denizens everywhere. Welcome back. Welcome back to the reading room. And we've got a really special episode this time round. You know, I love Fridays. I love Fridays. I love the fundamentalist fails. And this one's really special because it was sent in by the illustrious and wonderful Pinworm, who suggested this let's call it a documentary. It's claimed to be a documentary. We'll see how much of a documentary it is. I started watching it. Full disclosure, I started watching it. I went, "Oh, this is too good," and then stopped because this documentary. It's called The Rabbit Hole. Now, I think the hole in it is a whole lot of crap, to be honest with you, but it's wonderful. So I want to give a big shout out to Pinworm, who also and before I forget to do it or something, also Pinworm for $5. Thank you, Mark. I hope nothing but the best for you. Thank you so much, Pinworm. I really appreciate it, and back at you. I'm glad you exist. I'm glad you come on and give your perspective. And I'm so happy that you sent in this suggestion because it's fantastic. Now but yeah, Pinworm, much love, buddy. Absolutely. Look, this is a Roger Adventures by Roger. Every time I start saying this, like I was thinking about this, and every time I start saying it, I think of Monty Python for some reason. I'm not sure. I think it's like Monty Python and the Holy Grail when he says, "My name is Roger and I'm a shrubber." In fact, Roger the Shrubber, Adventures by Roger, by Roger. He's not a scientist. He's this just random guy, and it's just, oh boy, here we go. This is fantastic. I love this stuff. Like just a sort of almost unhinged dude who's done a documentary, very very serious documentary here, a documentary. Yes, yes. But yeah, and the rabbit hole is just, oh, it's gold. It's just so good. And so we'll be going through and critiquing this. Just to be on the safe side, I did the banner here. There we go. Just a slight banner. I might see if I can move that around a bit. No, I can't. But yeah, so this is basically a review and critique. This might be a two-parter. We'll see how we go, but it might be a two-parter. My first two-parter fundamentalist fails, actually. We'll see how it goes. I did have to speed this one up a lot. Do tell me if it's too fast, but Roger the Shrubber, he's just Roger. Rabbit Hole Roger, he speaks incredibly slow. Like he is, I'm serious. This is going to be at 1.5 times speed, and you can imagine what he's like on 1 time speed. It's incredible. It's actually impressive how slow. I think he's trying to pad the runtime by speaking insanely slow. I'm fairly sure. So yeah, we'll see how it goes though, and see if we get through sort of how much we get through. So this is the rabbit hole. Oh yeah, and aside from that, I will have a celebration coming up. I'm going to mention it at the start. So just at the start, I've hit 2K subscribers, and it's an amazing time. I didn't think I would get here. When I started, I didn't think I'd get to 500, much less 2,000, and that is incredible. Full disclosure, I promised Ember that I would wait till they get back from a con to have a party. So it might be a slight bit delayed, but I'm not going to delay it too long. And I want to see people and play some party games and just have some fun with the community and say thank you. I'm really humbled by all of the support that I've been getting, and there's no way I would be here except for all of you people, and you're wonderful. You treat me so well. You're so wonderful, and I really hope I can keep doing what I enjoy. I really loved the debate the other day. I haven't been in a debate for ages, and it felt so good to get back in there and have a wonderful, nice conversation and sort of a civil argument with somebody. I loved it. So I really want to get back into more debates and doing that. And Left-Handed Jedi, I thank you so much, Jedi. I really appreciate it. Here we go. Thank you so much. Michael Bell got a membership. Beamsy got a membership. Booba Sweat got a membership. Congratulations, Booba. Spooky Bed here and Binge Thinker. Awesome. You hit Binge Thinker. That's nice. Awesome. Fantastic. Winners, everybody. Thank you so much, Left-Handed Jedi, and another person that shows tons of support. And you know, not only people who have contributed, like Left-Handed Jedi and Pinworm. I really appreciate all your contributions, but also just people that have supported by encouraging me. You know, psychological support. You know, emotional support is really important too. I really appreciate it as well. But yeah, Left-Hand Jedi, thank you so much. I really. Oh, and that reminds me. Thank you for reminding me. I do have another membership thing left, so let me. Yeah, there we go. Let's go. Let's just give these out. Like, shut up and take my readership. Shut up and take my readership. Go on, take it. If it doesn't break. Okay, there we go. There we go. Like YouTube, you're sometimes not sure. There you go. So we've got Razor Robertson, Sydney Raptor. Oh God, how do I spell this? Pidhunjnak. I'm so sorry. That's very difficult to pronounce for me for some reason. Pidhunjnak. Katina Pack Bayers, and Speedy Romans. Congratulations, winners. Chicken dinners for everybody. Thank you so much, everyone. And thanks for the readerships there, Left-Handed Jedi. It reminded me that I did have 5 left for the thing. Maybe I'll get some more. Maybe it'll open up some more. I honestly don't know. But yeah, it's been a wild journey. It's probably going to be a wilder journey. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I want to engage with people, and it is really both encouraging and humbling for all your support. So I want to say thank you to everybody for just being amazing, just being amazing. I never would have thought I would be in this position, you know, a year ago. It's incredible. So much love to everybody, and I will have that celebration and just chill out, answer questions, play some games with you all. Just you know, relax and enjoy your company, because it's fantastic. The community is fantastic. It really is. But to Roger the Shrubber, I'm going to call him that from now on. I'm going to, yeah, I can size this up a little. So let's go. It's Fundamentalist Fails. It's Friday. You know what that means? It means we're going to be analyzing somebody who desperately needs to be analyzed and commented on. But this is apparently a documentary. It has no certification of a documentary. As documentaries go, this is a particularly poor example, and I'll explain why as we go through.
Someone hikes to a place where no one ever goes, and then finds something truly extraordinary.
What did he find? He found a hole. It's a hole. It's a hole. So, for context, Adventures with Roger, he seems to do a lot of wandering around caves or natural landscapes, or just some sort of, you know, I'm taking a camera to a location, I think in Indiana somewhere. He seems to like Indiana a lot, and, you know, wander, and I've got no problem with that kind of thing. I've got no problem with, hey, you know, here's some locations in Indiana that sort of you know, are you know, natural locations. They look kind of cool. Who knows what you can find there? That kind of stuff. You know, nobody's got any problem with that. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. But just for a little bit of context, he kind of I think recently he has branched out to this thing. I mean, he's listed as Southern Indiana travel videos. So what's weird is that, you know, this obviously isn't a travel video, but I think this is his own footage, which is why it's shaky. And I apologize if anybody, you know, gets motion sickness from this obviously horrendous, horrendously shot footage.
Sometimes it's a puzzling artifact.
Sometimes, is this something he has found? Is this something he's found? Because I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Is this being found in southern Indiana? Let's do a Google image search on it. This is the kind of thing I want to do. I love that we've got the capacity to do this now. I should be able to paste, search by image. Let's see. Pre-colonial North America. Sorry, I've got to verify that I am indeed human. Well, you never know, the aliens might be trying to get into the site. The aliens might. So this is the Adena pipe, apparently. It's a 2,000-year-old relic found near Chillicothe, Ohio State artifact of 2013. It's unique because it's tubular and found in the image of a person. It's uncertain whether the figure is modeled after an Adena man or a mythological being. Okay, so it was found in a burial mound in 1901. Okay, so it was part of a burial mound. I feel like the burial mounds will come back into it just because of the subject of this. I have a strong feeling that they will be back with the trying to link this up to the burial mounds.
One that points to an ancient culture that shouldn't be here.
An ancient culture, the Adena culture should be there. There's no problem with it. Why shouldn't the Adena culture be there? What? Why does this point to a culture that shouldn't be there? What? They were Native American. I don't. Okay, it was found in Ohio and it's pre-Columbian Native American. Dates to about 2,000 years old. So about 0 BC, time of Jesus. The Adena culture existed from about 500 to 500 BC to 100 AD. I don't. Why shouldn't they be there? What? I don't. What? There's no problem with that.
Or an immense ancient skeleton of what looks.
Or an immense. Is that an ancient skeleton? It doesn't look that ancient. Again, we can do a Google image search and find out where this is coming from. But I love how he doesn't give any citations or any kind of well, anything really, to say where it's from or what it happens. Why where is this coming from? Okay, so this is apparently archaeologists. They're the Lovelock Giants, apparently. Let's look that up. Lovelock Giants. So apparently they've got this photo, but apparently no other evidence has actually been found. Research conducted at the University of Nevada suggests that one of the giants was actually only 1.83 meters tall, not the claimed 2.44. I do also want to point out that there's a hell of a lot of sort of frauds going around at this time. So do we know this was a giant? Don't know about that. Here's the thing. Also that large people exist. Like people do get gigantism. The tallest person on record, for reference, I think was over 10 feet tall. Robert Wadlow was his name. Actually, 8 feet 11 inches, so almost 9 feet tall. Here is a picture of the tallest guy to live, and he sort of had gigantism. The poor guy kind of he also um he also died very young because his organs couldn't support him. But he wasn't a giant. He was just a person with gigantism, which is sort of a genetic disease, I believe. I'm trying to find a good picture of the gentleman, because apparently he was a really nice guy. Very, very nice, cool guy. Just, yeah. Yeah, so you can see he's here. And he sort of looks like about the same size as this person. So it is possible it was an actual person, but when we sort of say, hey, there is a race of giants, we usually would expect, because if you found this guy's skeleton, you would go, oh, well, he's 9 feet tall. You know, um, that's a giant. Well, no, he's just got gigantism. Really sorry. But where does this photo come from? How do we Roger doesn't explain. He doesn't explain where it comes from, or how he found it, or the background behind it, or who these people are, or the circumstances. Nothing's explained. Like, nothing. So I don't know how to take this besides looking it up on Google search and finding, hey, apparently there were stories, but there's no other evidence apart from stories. So, I mean, I'd love to know more about it.
Like a giant, 7 feet tall and above. Numerous new.
Okay, so this is the mound giants, and I think this is going to be Roger's gripe. So apparently, these mound giants were investigated and found to not be giants. Like, they're just ancient Indian burial grounds. I'm sorry, Native American burial grounds. They aren't sort of a race of giants. And the problem was, there's a lot of hoaxes going on, and a lot of people with very poor skills in anatomy sort of putting together bones and going, oh, it is a giant. Yeah, I really don't think so. And here's the thing: we don't know what paper this was out of. We don't know how this was sort of investigated. We have no idea. There was a lot of reports to have found giants. But yeah, and so in 1934, the Smithsonian Institute investigated, and it basically debunked the whole thing that these were ancient white giants, because they don't forget, it's 1934. Race had to come into it, right? So they kind of were claimed to be ancient white giants. Not Native American, but instead white European, which of course they were, of course. So it was investigated by Alaise Hrdlicka. Hrdlicka blamed the reports of giant skeletons on the will to believe, so basically confirmation bias, coupled with amateur anthropologists who are unfamiliar with human anatomy. Yeah. And then 2014, and I'm very familiar with this, a story started circulating that the Smithsonian Institute had destroyed these skeletons. And I'm very familiar with that because it actually came up in a debate that I had. And it's hilarious because it was originally put out, this claim that the Smithsonian destroyed these skeletons was put out in a parody paper. I think it was called Daily News Today or something along those lines. And it was basically it did parody articles, you know, sort of like aliens stole my fiance kind of thing. Just parody stuff like The Onion. And so this sort of idea that the Smithsonian's been destroying giant skeletons was a joke. It started as a joke, but a lot of people have leaned into it because the Smithsonian was the one that debunked this entire thing originally back in 1934. It's just very funny that you know we have an actual movement based upon a joke. I mean, I guess that may be what flat Earth is. And a lot of the time, what they're finding, so the Smithsonian had to put out a caution as well, sort of saying, "Hey, stop disturbing the mastodon bones," because apparently a lot of people were finding mastodon bones and thinking they're giant human skeletons. Sort of, so they said, "Oh, they're prehistoric giants." But really, they were mastodons, not humans. So we're really talking about people with no ability to sort of interpret what's human and what's not. This belief apparently became so widespread that Abraham Lincoln referenced the lost race of giants along with extinct mastodons when describing the age of Niagara Falls. So even Honest Abe was not so honest. Well, I mean, maybe he was honest. He just got the wrong idea. But con artist George Hull created the Cardiff Giant hoax after an argument with Henry Turk, a preacher who taught that the biblical giants had literally walked the earth. So the Cardiff Giant was basically some guy creating a hoax in order to make somebody look silly, basically. He wanted to sort of prove how easily he could fool people, essentially, right? So he made a hoax just to sort of show that you can be fooled very easily if that's what you're thinking of. So thank you for your service, sir. Yeah. Thank you for your service. Create a hoax to show how people can be fooled by hoaxes. Joel?
Newspapers tell the story.
Prehistoric graveyard discovered in an Indian farm. Okay, what's unusual about that? What's unusual? That doesn't say that large skeletons, all more than 8 feet in height. Yeah, so this is, I remember looking this up. The record is apparently a student paper. I don't know how accurate this is. He's finding articles from stuff that has been perpetrated around the 1930s based upon secondhand knowledge that may not actually be accurate.
To the masses.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget that, you know, Abraham Lincoln himself attested to giants living alongside mastodons. This is how misinformation sort of gets propagated. Just because it's in a paper doesn't mean it's automatically true. Widespread giant, yeah. So somebody goes and reports to the paper, "Oh, I found a giant skeleton," when really they found mastodon bones. They will report it as such. That's not unusual. It's not like we go to the media for our scientific knowledge, and there's a reason. There's a very good reason why. Please stop doing that. And we don't do that anymore. We don't sort of rely on the media to confirm that, in fact, it is. And don't forget, this was actually investigated by scientists, and they could not find any evidence of it except for, you know, misinterpretations of large bones as being human. Now, this apparently, from a Google image search, is the Kentucky Giant, and I want to look this up. So this is Martin van Burenbates. He was apparently 7 feet 9 inches tall. So this wasn't an ancient. This was a dude we knew about. He fought in the Civil War. I don't. I, okay. Not so sure about this, Chief. Yeah, this apparently is the Kentucky Giant who was a dude. Yeah, there's tall people around. Yes, and short people apparently. Okay. Oh no, I do apologize. The skeletons of Charles Byrne, 1761, the Irish giant, and the left Caroline Crachami, the Sicilian dwarf from the Strand magazine. Okay. So yeah, this is two skeletons of an insanely tall person and an insanely short person. Just to show you sort of the I don't know, the variation within humans. This isn't people we don't know about. This is the thing. You're sort of pointing this as, oh, we've got evidence of giant. Well, no, we've got evidence of people with gigantism. And you see the smaller one, that's actually somebody with dwarfism. Sorry. But I love that he doesn't reference, this was a skeleton found, and exists. Do we have any background for that?
Hundreds of local people see these curiosities in small town museums with their own eyes. Then the
Yeah, they see the curiosities in small towns with their own eyes. Okay.
Smithsonian or other government agency is contacted to take a look.
Yeah, that's kind of their job. The Smithsonian Institute is a scientific institute. That's kind of their job. That's kind of what they do. They're a museum. Like, why wouldn't they have a look at that? I don't understand. They're a museum.
After that, these ancient items are never seen again. Many would point to a conspiracy in which unknown powers hide things from the rest of us. But why? Is it to eliminate ancient items that contradict the story that we've been told for?
No, they don't eliminate items. They just basically say whether it's an actual artifact or not, or a collection of mastodon bones, or a look at the door frame and okay, I'll buy it. Yeah, that's true. It isn't much larger than a door frame. It isn't actually any larger than a door frame, actually, now that you come to think of it. And I think that's a very, very short person. Hey, Jeff. Hey, what the beck? Hey, Michael. Oh, some awesome people here. Hey, Pandoras. It's just some awesome people in chat. Love to see it.
Is it to eliminate ancient items?
No. They don't eliminate ancient items. They preserve them. They're a museum, but they will proclaim whether something is actually a real thing or not. I don't think they would sort of confiscate them or anything. They would just say, hey, this isn't real. Yeah, so apparently this was the Irish giant. So this skeleton is actually located. We know where this is. This is the thing. The Smithsonian doesn't have this skeleton and they didn't destroy it. This is Charles Byrne, the Irish giant. So I want to show you something. This is the skeleton with this very small one beside it. So that was Caroline Cricimi, the Sicilian dwarf. Now Charles Byrne, or the Irish giant. I'll just find it. He was apparently said to be over 8 feet tall, but the skeletal evidence only says that he was like sort of high 7 feet tall. This is his skeleton. We still have it. It's in the Royal Museum, I think, in England. Yeah, so Byrne displayed at the Royal College of Surgeons in England, London. So we still have this skeleton that was in that picture. It hasn't gone anywhere. No one's destroyed it. It's just not a race of giants. It's just a poor guy with gigantism. That's it. That's all. It's a Royal College of Surgeons in England, London, England. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's 7 inches apparently, according to the skeletal remains. You know, and it's kind of, I mean, it kind of feels weird to sort of show it as an oddity, but you know, it is an oddity, and the royal surgeons sort of they're interested in anatomy, but it's not shown as this is a giant. This is shown as here is an example of a normal human with gigantism. And that's the whole point. Like, we have normal humans with gigantism. That is a far cry away from an entire race of giants living in the Neolithic time.
To contradict the story that we've been told for ages? Or is the truth so intense that you and I can't handle it?
Is the truth so intense that you and I can't handle it? You can't handle the truth! Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think Shark is. I'll look it up. He definitely is. Um, 7 foot 1 inch, 2.16 meters. Apparently, Sun Mingming is the largest basketballer at 2.36 inches. No, 2.36 meters. 7 foot 7 inch is. Oh no! Apparently, Georges Marchand, 2.31 meters, or 7 foot 7. It happens. It happens.
Missing an item or two among millions could be easily dismissed as bad record keeping. But what about the contents of 4 separate museums in Indiana?
What about it? What about the contents of 4 separate museums in Indiana? What are we finding out? Can we handle the truth? Should I play it? Can we handle it?
That held thousands of ancient items.
They held thousands of ancient items. Yes, they still do, probably. I mean, I've never been there personally, but they probably still hold thousands of ancient items. That's kind of what museums do.
This is much harder to explain and opens a rabbit hole we were never meant to go down.
We were never meant to go. Why are we going down it then? We're going down the forbidden rabbit hole. Oh my. Oh my. There you go, people. It's the title. It's the title. That's a film by Roger Edward Turpin. I didn't know his name. So he is a Turpin. The Turpin's on the loose, showing everybody things they were never meant to see. Below the surface. Okay, cool. Tell me something I don't know.
I've explored Indiana for most of my life.
Yeah, you have, and you've got the videos to prove it. I gotcha. Mostly with GoPros, I imagine, because they really are sort of nausea-inducing, but that's cool. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Wilderness is beautiful. Yes. Get to the giants.
I've met a lot of good people, and some outright crazy ones too.
No, really?
I've heard stories that make me wonder if the truth I think I know, that I learned in school, is very true at all. I grew up hearing that ancient Indiana was inhabited by simple, primitive people.
Well, I mean, I don't know what simple primitive mean. I mean, compared to modern society, yes, they were primitive, but I think simple, complex and diverse cultures. Native Americans weren't just sort of, we had this portrayal of Native American culture and really any Aboriginal culture as sort of simple and sort of primitive and not very rich, like our white European, hoity-toity, amazing cultures that provided all this stuff, but that they were complex and rich and diverse, and there was more to them than just sort of the. Yeah, no, I agree, Kiwi Burb. Yeah, just some casual racism. Yeah, no, I gotcha.
They did little more than survive.
I mean, Roger doesn't seem particularly young. If you went through school when sort of, I guess, sort of being Generation X and growing up during the 90s, that was sort of the change. I was sort of on the just after the change from where we went to, oh, these Aboriginal cultures were simple and rudimentary and, kind of primitive, to, well, no, actually they were very rich, deep, and complex kind of thing. Like, they're complex to understand. I think I was sort of just on the other side. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I need the giants. I need the giants.
Living in rock shelters and gathering berries. They didn't.
Living in rock shelter? No, no, no. I don't. No. Like, this is the thing. Like, we kind of by the time the Mesoamerican peoples were living in the Americas, they kind of had things like, I don't know, tents and structures. They were nomadic for the most part, but you had others like the Incas and Mayans that sort of created very stable and long-term structures, stone houses and things. The northern Mesoamerican tribes, they were nomadic generally. They did move, but it wasn't because they couldn't make permanent structures. It was because they followed game around. They were nomadic by nature, not because they had to like keep to one cave for some reason. I think this guy has no idea about Native American tribes. Well, yeah, Kiwi Bird, they could build huts and often did, but a lot of the tribes were nomadic. They were, it's like saying, well, the Mongols didn't have permanent huts. Well, yeah, they had yurts because they were nomadic. They moved around with their flocks and, with their herds. I That's not a point against them. They knew how to build, permanent structures. It just, their way of life was suited to temporary structures. And I don't know if you ever a yurt is actually, the Mongolian yurt is actually a really comfortable structure. Like, the way it's heated, the way it's set up, it's very secure even in strong weather, and very comfortable to live in. Like, it holds heat remarkably well. I remember my mother actually went on a Mongolian sort of yurt excursion, and it's surprising how comfortable it is to live in these, what for all intents and purposes a tent. It's actually really comfortable. Um, yeah. Some tribes of Canaan were nomadic. They did have um, it depends on what. So you're not wrong. It's just Jews were when they settled, basically. So I think Israelites were nomadic. By the time they were the Jewish people, they'd basically formed civilization and settled in one spot. Um, I think that was taught to me by Peter, who sort of says it's very important to separate the Jewish people from the Israelite tribes of ancient times, because they are really two separate cultural things. So yeah, but you're not wrong. The Israelites and most of the tribes of Canaan actually were nomadic.
Develop written language, let alone any advanced technology. They didn't.
What do you mean by advanced technology? I mean, that they had bows. Is that advanced? Well, it's not a car, but it's a bow. They had I think it's atlatls, the spear throwers, which are kind of, to be honest with you, I think it's called an atl. Yeah, so it's a spear thrower. It's actually a really cool. It's a cool um, example of physics. It basically allows you to put way more force into throwing a sphere. And I think the Peruvians came up, sort of used them extensively, but it wasn't like they were sort of, yeah, they're primitive by today's standards, but I don't think they were that primitive by, sort of any European tribal standard. I don't think so. I think they were sort of on par with, say, the level of technology, say, the Mongols had at the time. I'm not like, yes, the Europeans were much more advanced because they had, sailing ships and gunpowder and all of this kind of stuff. They had a much more intricate knowledge of chemistry, but I still wouldn't say that they're incredibly primitive for compared to other tribal societies around the world, like the Mongols or maybe the Arabian culture was a bit more advanced, sure, but I don't think that's I don't think denigrating them is a good idea. I think they had a very complex culture and a deep understanding of sort of their land and how everything worked. I don't know. I think that it's just sort of a, they were primitive. Well, compared to the Europeans, okay.
Have great nutrition and
Yeah,
therefore were
exactly,
not very
Kiwi.
big. The tallest was likely around 5 feet tall.
I don't think so. I don't think they were particularly small. 5 feet tall. It probably varied by no, so I'm just looking this up quickly. Apparently, um, they they're about 5 feet 8 inches on average. I I don't I don't think they were that. Yeah, so 5 feet 8 inches on average. I don't. Why? What? I think that people were smaller in the past. People have a propensity to get taller over time. There's a reason for that. It's sort of genetically, tallness is a dominant trait. So 3/4 of the time, so 75% of the time, your children will be taller than you. Either the males will be taller than their cis male father, and that's not always the case, but there is a general propensity for getting taller. But they weren't short compared to the Europeans. That's about the same size as Europeans at the time. I don't, and it depends on the tribe. Some were shorter than others, sure. I don't. Yeah, and heights of 6 foot and over were quite common above Native American males. I don't. In some tribes, not all of them, but some tribes, like being over 6 foot is actually that's taller than the Europeans were, generally speaking. We're all talking generalities here. But he's sort of saying, hey, the tallest was 5 foot. No, that's not true. That is not true.
But listening to people that have lived in southern Indiana their entire life, 5 or 6 generations deep, I've heard stories that go back hundreds of years. Hidden in the woods are caves that hold bodies of ancient people, including their jewelry. Gigantic skeletons found in rock slab tombs along the river, with artifacts that are unlike native people that we know today. Walls made of quarried limestone that were already here when pioneers came in the late 1700s. Many strange things that should not be in Indiana.
Why is quarried limestone weird? It wasn't like they didn't know how to work with minerals. Didn't you show a statue from a tribe? Didn't this guy show a statue from the Adena culture? Why are you surprised that they quarried limestone when you showed a literal statue? You know, we found tons of aren't like Native American arrowheads usually of flint or some other stone? Why do you think they didn't know how to work stone? Because they were huddling in caves, maybe because you think they were cavemen? So weird. This guy needs a serious education on the difference between Paleolithic society and sort of, Native American society as it progressed. Why could the Native Americans not work stone? I don't know. What is going on here?
Like a Viking runestone.
Okay.
Roman coins found along the Ohio River.
Roman coins found along Ohio River. Do you have a citation for us? Okay, I think I've found it. Okay. In 1963, a construction engineer found a small hoard of coins excavating the north bank of the Ohio River during construction of the Sherman-Minton Bridge. Hang on, I'll share this. I'm not sure if I can blow it up. 2 smaller coins from Claudius II. For several years, the Falls of the Ohio had a exhibit about the find. The hoard. Okay. So old Roman coins were found. How did they get there? Is a question. Coins of Claudius II, Roman coins from bears, but is much better. I'd like to know how they got there. I mean, just because they're coins from the Roman period doesn't mean that's who was over there. It's interesting though. It's really interesting. It's very interesting. So they were from 312 to 313 AD. I mean, obviously they were. Let's see. Interesting.
Near Jefferson Proving Ground, thousands of miles and an ocean away from Europe.
I mean, it's a good idea, Kiwi Verb, but I don't think the Vikings went that far south, or west. Where the hell is Ohio? I don't know where Ohio is. Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, Robin. Like, because we don't date stuff by the coins, because the coins can be minted at any time. For some reason, somebody stashed really old coins there. Who was it? A native? Don't know. Was it one of a settler or something? We don't know. Who was it and why did they do it? We just don't know. And the thing is that no other coins have been found except for this one sort of stash, which means that they weren't kind of in circulation. It was just a stash. It's more likely to be a European with some very old coins as sort of their treasure that they stashed than it is that, you know, people were coming and spending coins in the area about the time of ancient Rome, about 300 AD. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's really weird.
Unusual stones with ancient languages that
Unusual stone. Is that unusual? And it's ancient languages unusual?
have perplexed experts.
Perplexed experts. Well, let's see what Google Images says. Un momento, por favor. I'm sorry for the terrible nature of my Spanish. Not getting a lot on this one. I'm not sure what this one is. I don't even know if this came from America. But here's the thing. Here's the thing you've got to remember. He's not giving any context, right? He's not saying, hey, this is a stone with writing of, you know, X, that is, you know, was found in this location by this and has been, you know, he's not giving any sort of context for what this is. Okay, so apparently this is the Brandenburg stone. Apparently it's a memorial stone of national significance. Sorry, I'll zoom in for you. The comet catastrophe. I'm not 100% sure this is a very reliable source, to be honest with you. Meade, Kentucky County. Odd. Carved limestone slab. The original slab broke into 3 fragments. Balstone. The Brandenburg Stones Memorial National Significance. Is this comet catastrophe a real thing? Am I being gaslit here? Is this what's going on? Apparently it was a volcanic winter of 536. Cooling hemisphere. Interesting. So apparently this was a worldwide catastrophe. AD 536. The most severe in the last 2,000 years. Well, we're learning stuff. They're in a ancient Welsh script called Colbren. Reading from right to left towards strength, you know. Did they live? Did Welsh people live in that area around the 6th century AD? I don't think so. Okay. Purely offspring. I'd really like to know what this actually is from somewhere that is like, but this is the thing. The guy here is not giving any context as to what it means. No, the comment, no, it didn't appear in come on now. The end of the first dynasty of Egypt. The reason for the end of this dynasty is presently unknown. Well, that's true. Which coincides that, yeah, this is not a reliable source. Biblical flood. The comet is clearly the cause of this flood. No, there's no global flood. Maybe it's the flood that the Bible based the global flood on, but there's no global flood. So it was a rock with an inscription from about 300 AD. Again, we've got old artifacts found in like, don't get me wrong, it is an old artifact with sort of a message on it that's been found in Ohio. That doesn't mean that's where it was created and the people that made it were living there. But I guess what's frustrating me is he's giving no context. He's just saying, "Hey, this is weird." Yeah, yeah. Can you tell us what it is and why it shows that there were giants? Like, how does it show there's giants?
The body of a man found in the Ohio River.
Oh my God. That's the hoax I was talking about that the guy did to show how easily people are fooled by hoaxes. I'm sure that is the same thing. I'm sure that is the same thing. Oh dear. Oh dear. Yeah. So this is the one that I was talking about. It's a history lesson, right? John Eigenmann hoax. Okay. So it was basically George Hull found himself in an argument about biblical claim that giants lived on Earth. You don't say, as an atheist, he did not believe the Bible should be read literally. So Hull basically created this hoax, and that is the hoax, the photo of the Engelmann giant. He created it to basically to show people how easily you can be fooled, right? So this is the thing. He reported to the paper. Whoops, sorry, that's my bad. Misclick. Go away. The hoax took hold. There is no doubt after the inspection, the governor saw it. There is no doubt that the specimen is a genuine petrified body of a man. It's the most wonderful thing I have ever seen. And this is just a hoax, right? That's the Cardiff giant. It's just a hoax. And they're still saying it's real to this day. This is the hilarious thing, right? It's a hoax. It was done as a hoax to show some Bible reading person that you shouldn't trust people when they bring you, what you want to see. He's basically showing it as an example of confirmation bias.
Completely petrified into stone. Southern Indiana.
No, you're not going to mention where it came from or who created it or who found it or anything like that. No, because if you did that, you would know that it was created by Engelmann as a hoax on his friend who believed that giants roamed the earth. The thing is, that took me like, what, a minute to find in Google Images? Like, seriously, you can do this yourself. You can look up these things.
Is a very strange place with a plethora of puzzling items. Many of these landed in courthouse displays or county museums. Hundreds of people.
Courthouse displays? Really? Courthouse displays? I mean, as an example of fraud, maybe. Are there a lot of these things in courthouse displays? I personally have never been in a court and gone, oh, here is the body of a giant. I
saw them, and then one day they were simply gone without a trace. But it wasn't just hearsay. You can look these things up in libraries across the state if you have time to look at microfilm.
If you have time to look at microfilm. Look, just because a paper reports this, because this fraud was reported as true. This is the thing. Like, a lot of these frauds are reported as true. Just because you find a newspaper report saying, hey, there was a giant found, doesn't mean it's true. That's the problem. And you're adding to the problem, because you're saying, hey, they found this body of a giant, and showing what was clearly a hoax, and what the guy said was a hoax because he got into an argument with a preacher called Hull who thought there were giants, so he made a hoax to fool the guy. Pinworm, I love you, but dear.
And old reports from the historical societies. You have to ask yourself, who's...
What is this? The Masons? That's the Masons, right? It's the stonemasons are hiding the giants. What? Why? What have I walked into? What? Why? Stonemasons? Freemasons. Yeah, you're right. Freemasons. Freemasons are hiding the giants.
Making these odd, ancient artifacts disappear. And why?
No one's making them disappear. Nobody is making... The skeleton that you claimed had disappeared is on display in the Royal College of Surgeons in London. It's still there. Like, no one's making... Oh, my God. Oh, I see this thing of a giant, and I don't see reports of giants anymore. Someone's making them vanish. No, or they just weren't giants in the first place. And so, okay, so Freemasons, and yeah, like, gotcha. Obviously, Robin Webster is a Illuminati plant that is working for the Freemasons. So, you know, that tracks with everything. Robin knows too much for a normal human being. I think she's Illuminati. Quick, get her. Look, Robin, as far as I know, the Freemasons are just a guys' club, basically. They're just a bunch of dudes wanting to get away from their wives, essentially, that had roots in the stonemasons and guilds of mason, like marble masons of Europe. Like, it isn't a big thing. It's just a boys' club, basically. You know, it basically was just... So what you've got to understand about these kind of societies was they didn't hold esoteric knowledge. They were basically trade guilds, right? They basically were, you know, people that plied a trade. Like, you know, we still have the remnants of them today. Like, we have the, you know, Electricians Association and the you know, Plumbers Association and things like that. They're trade guilds. Essentially, that's what they are. They're just bunches of people with certain specific knowledge about a trade or what am I thinking of? sort of a thing, and you know, do apprenticeships and things like that. That you know, they have a lot of knowledge about their trade, the trade that they ply. So you know, we do have plumbers associations, we do have builders associations. They're just trade guilds. They're just bunches of people who work in the same trade, and their esoteric knowledge, their hidden knowledge, is just sort of what we'd call trade secrets. That's it. And the Freemasons was born out of that. But a lot of it was just guys wanting to hang around people in their own trade. It's not, you know, it's sort of formed from there. It's not a great, you know, conspiracy. It's just a bunch of guys that sort of want to hang out. That's it. That's the entire conspiracy.
You go down that rabbit hole just below the surface, you find out this has been going on for a very long time.
Yes, trade guilds have been around for a very long time. Yes. I wonder what the first trade guild was. Probably prostitutes, world's oldest profession. You know, oldest trade guild. Probably the Egyptians or something, you know? You know what I mean? Like, they probably had the Masons. So a medieval guild established by charters and things like that. Yeah. But if you actually look up the origins of the Freemasons, they're not nefarious at all. Like, at all. Like, it doesn't, you know. And because we kind of the oldest known work of that is the Halliwell manuscript between 1390 and 1425. So it's basically sort of just a bunch of Masons. Like, it's really weird. It's very, very weird that people think that these people who just hang out, you know, they don't have any secret knowledge apart from, you know, how to round corners and stuff. It's not.
Get ready for a wild ride.
Oh, I'm ready. My body is ready. My mind is ready. Yep, absolutely. Let's go. Let's freaking go. All right, wild ride. I'm there for it. Are you ready, chat? Are you ready for a wild ride? Come on, chat. Join me in the wild ride. Buckle up. Buckle up, bitches. Let's go. Let's go.
From the moment Europeans landed in the Americas, they found a strange land with many unusual ancient artifacts.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, they're unusual to the Europeans. Sure. Yeah, absolutely unusual. They weren't unusual to the people there. It depends. Unusual to who? Because to modern day, they're not unusual. They're perfectly normal, what we would expect out of Native American and sort of Caribbean cultures. Caribbean. Look, take your pick. Seriously, like, they're not unusual now. They were just unusual to the Europeans because they weren't like theirs. What are you talking about?
They were considered trophies of countless expeditions.
Yes. Yeah. The Europeans did a lot of plundering. I totally agree there. I don't know why they would be unusual though. Like, today we look back and go, yeah, that is emblematic of their culture. Sure, that tracks. Like, when they got to the Pacific Islands, they thought they were really unusual. Yes. Are they unusual for that area? No. They're exactly what we expect from the Polynesian peoples. I don't. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Kiwi Burb. I'm right on board with you. Yeah, like, as a Polynesian, there's nothing unusual about the things that we find. But if you're a European and all you're used to is a certain type of art and a certain type of culture, it's really unusual. But that doesn't mean that they're hidden or secret or whatever. Yeah, Kiwi Burb, right on. Polynesians represent.
Most remained in private collections, as there were no formal museums or government agencies.
Yes, the Europeans did a whole lot of plundering. We already covered this. They did a whole lot of ripping off natives for stuff. Yes, no, we all understand this. Quite frankly, I think there should be a lot more given back of that stuff. I get that we want to put them in museums and things like that, but I think they should be given back to the original owners. I think that the royal family should give back a lot of their crown jewels, especially the diamond that they basically stole from Africa. I think it's called what's the biggest diamond? It's the one on, like, this is the thing. Most people don't realize that the crown jewels were all flogged from other countries. They're basically spoils of conquest. A lot of people don't know that. I think it's the Star of Africa. The Star of Africa diamond is the one on the crown, and they basically just took it. They just took it, and it's still on their crown. I think it should be given back. I really do. But I don't think they're giving it up anytime soon.
In fact, it wasn't until 1683 that the first museum appeared at Oxford University.
1683 was the first museum? Not sure about that one, champ. Ashmolean Museum was the first public museum. Maybe he's talking about the first public museum? The world's oldest museum was built 2,500 years ago. Was built by a Babylonian princess. Dates 530 BC. So I think he's talking about the first public museum. So public museums, most museums weren't public to start off with, right? We didn't have public museums. It actually was a fairly new thing, but museums have gone back for ages. If you're just talking about a building to display artifacts and notable curiosities, they've gone back forever. Like, as I said, 530 BC is the oldest museum we have found, and it was belonged by a princess who sort of, had people come and look at her treasures.
That was nearly 200 years after Christopher Columbus. As a new country, the United States did not have a national museum. Any odd, ancient artifact that you found was yours. To many.
Okay. Yeah. I think, that may or may not still be the case depending on where you find it and stuff. I think that people donate a lot of stuff to museums, and I think that's a good thing.
It was a fun pastime, and there were many collectors. Even some of our founding fathers collected ancient artifacts, and Thomas Jefferson was among them.
Okay. I'm not sure when he's getting to the point. Maya, so good to see you, Maya. Have you done Adventures by Roger? If you haven't, he is a delight. His lack of any kind of background for anything that he says is an absolute delight. He has rabbit holes upon rabbit holes. It's fantastic. I know a certain weasel that would love this guy.
As a true Renaissance man of many interests, the prospect of finding the unknown and mysterious intrigued him to the core. He was a big-time collector of curiosities and filled his entryway with many. He collected ancient fossils, but also many ancient artifacts.
Okay, sure. He had many ancient artifacts. Okay, we're gonna find this tied into giants at some point, but it's not right now. Okay, so here's the thing: when you look at this and say these artifacts are unusual, no. The Roman coins found in the Ohio River, that's unusual, right? That's an unusual artifact because it sort of doesn't belong to the culture that was there. Now, it doesn't mean that the culture that was there had Roman coins. They were probably stashed by somebody. But, these are not unusual artifacts for the area. They're very usual artifacts. So I don't know why he's talking about unusual artifacts and things they shouldn't have found. And then, Jefferson found a whole bunch of stuff by the Native American tribe. But what? Well, that's art's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, because that looks like a stroke victim. I'm sorry, it does. I'm really sorry. Look, they were doing their best.
And when he became president, he commissioned expeditions to hunt down these legends and bring back whatever artifacts they could find.
Yeah, as previously discussed, the white people did a whole load of pillaging. I think I've discussed this before, how much pillaging the white people did. They did a whole bunch of pillaging. So this is Jefferson's time where, museums did exist, but not really a whole bunch in America, right? I'll just look up when the first museum in the US. Yeah, 1773, the Charleston Museum. So when did Jefferson live? Yeah, he was born 1743. So what you've got to keep in mind is that there wasn't a whole bunch of museums around. It wasn't like, there's a ton of museums with an ability to sort of catalog and do all of this stuff. The first museum only opened up sort of 50 years before his death. So yeah, a lot of it was, private people did have a lot of artifacts. I don't know why that's unusual or why it should be surprising to old Roger here. It's I get you. I get you. Even the founding fathers did their fair share of pillaging. I agree with you. Yes.
And some of the strangest findings came from Indiana.
Where you happen to be, yes. No, I've got you. I've got you. Hey, Michael, so good to see you, mate. So good to see you.
During the Revolutionary War, Jefferson met General George Rogers Clark in Virginia. The men were fellow patriots and collaborated on military operations and planning. Clark corresponded back and forth with Jefferson for many years and had developed a trusted rapport. After the war, Clark was given a large amount of land in southern Indiana. He built a cabin overlooking the Ohio River.
Yeah, he was just given that land. No one was there, because the natives don't count. But, it's details. Look, we're really just going over colonialism here. Yes, Europeans went into a whole bunch of countries and a whole bunch of cultures that were there. They took essentially whatever they wanted because they felt that they had a divine right to do so. We're aware, yeah, and sort of this ignoring that. A lot of, as Kiwi Bird pointed out, a lot of this artifacts were not found; they were taken. They were taken as oddities of the New World. Like, I think we're sort of passing over that and not acknowledging it completely, Roger. And this thing of, oh, he was given this land. Well, no, he kind of took it from yeah. No, totally, Michael. Like, totally. Colonialism, yeah. But I love how people still frame it as this, oh, well, they found this and they did. Not really. Not really. Yeah. I think we've got to get a proper context for colonialism, sort of saying, hey, they seized this land and then gave it to Jefferson rather than just, oh, he was given this land. Not really. He received stolen property, quite frankly. But, yeah.
And spent his spare time exploring the vast wilderness. What he found was very unusual. In the middle of the river was a small patch of land, Sand Island. And when he took a boat to investigate, he found thousands of human bones all over it. Skeletons were strewn about in a chaotic fashion. It was like an incredible massacre had happened long ago. And not only that, some of these human bones were gigantic.
Were they? Did who says this? Where is this recorded? Did Jefferson ever say he found giant bones? Were the gigantic bones even human? Is there a record of this? So according to American scientists, Jefferson collected all of these bones, but the giant ones were from megafauna. He had a large collection of mammoth remains, which were actually mastodon bones. Yeah, he had megatherium or a giant sloth, basically bones. Yeah, I don't know if he found giant human bones. So there's a bit of conflation going on here, where he's saying, "Hey, some of them were giant bones. Were they giant human bones?" Is the question?
When he spoke to a Piankashaw chief about what he'd found, he was told that many ages past, local tribes banded together against the white Indians. They were
The white Indians. Is this man a Mormon? Is this man a Mormon? Do we have a citation for this? Jefferson talked to a tribe leader. Uh, I don't know if this is true. I don't think this is true. I really don't.
fair-skinned, had blue eyes and golden hair, and were much taller than the tribes that lived along the river. Every last one of these people were killed on Sand Island. Clark traveled upstream to what's now known as Battle Creek.
Clark? Who's Clark? Wait, did I miss something? Did I miss something?
Every last one of these people were killed against the white Indians. They were fair-skinned, big fashion. It was like an incredible massacre had happened long ago. And not only that, some of these human bones were gigantic.
Okay.
When he spoke to a Piankashaw chief about what he'd found, he was told that many ages past, local tribes banded together against the white Indians. They were fair-skinned, had blue eyes and golden hair, and were much taller than the tribes that lived along the river. Every last one of these people were killed on Sand Island. Clark traveled upstream to what's...
That's such a disconnect. Like, Jefferson talked to the leader, and they were all white-skinned and blue-eyed and golden-haired. But then he's saying Clark traveled upstream. Who is Clark? Who is Clark? Oh, Spooky. Happy birthday, Spooky. 200 subs at long last. Oh, congratulations. Awesome. Spooky, let them eat cake. Let them eat cake. Congratulations, Spooky. Happy birthday. I hope you have a fantastic day. I really do. You haven't subbed to Spooky Bedhair. Just do it. Just freaking do it, okay? I have known Spooky for a long time now. I met Spooky over at Amy Newman's channel, and they've made fun of me immediately and never looked back. I'm already subscribed to Spooky. What are you talking about, Mark? What are you talking about? Spooky, much love, buddy. Much love. Spooky I've known for a while, and they've always been an absolute hilarious person. I love their sense of humor. They are fantastic. Thanks so much, Spooky. No, I love your work, mate. I really do. You're always a joy to have in chat. Always. Happy birthday, my friend. So Lewis and Clark, they mapped the West. Okay, why not say, like, this is such a disconnected story? We were talking about Jefferson, right? We were talking about Jefferson and a Native American leader, and now we're like, Clark went upstream. Okay.
Now known as Battle Creek. There he found the skeletons of many men, still clad in ancient armor. They too seem to have been killed in some great and chaotic battle. Clark proceeded up the river to what's now called Rose Island. It was there that he found what looked like ruins of a castle.
Ruins of a castle. A castle. What kind of castle? I don't I don't think he found like people in ancient armor as in ancient European armor. I'm not sure what he's saying, but he's not giving any kind of reference to where he's found this, where he's gotten it from, how he knows this. It's just this, oh, well, they did this thing. Well, could you extrapolate? Like what I found on Jefferson and his taking, like how much, where he found bones and stuff. He didn't find any giant human bones at all. I think this guy is making that up. I really do.
Walls were made of quartz stone, and 14 to 20 feet tall. Clark sent samples of the armor to Thomas Jefferson, along with a description of these odd findings in southern Indiana.
Okay, so Clark obviously was he around the time of Thomas Jefferson? Probably. Lewis and Clark expedition. 1804 to 18. Yeah, it's the right time. They did do mapping. They encountered Native Americans. I get all of that. I'm just not seeing where they found armor and bones. That seems to be a sort of fabrication. Yeah, they didn't find any armor. They did find fossils and other artifacts, bones they found, but not armor. Like where did this armor come from? What kind of armor is it? Like if because the Native Americans they did use certain types of what we would call armor, like sometimes it was sort of bone armor or wood armor that basically there were, sort of a sort of what could loosely be called a breastplate. But I don't I because he's providing no context as to what that actually is, it's very hard to tell. Um, okay, so what Lewis and Clark found, what Lewis found more specifically, right, 1805, was the grand natural walls, right? It seemed that that they found ranges of walls of tolerable workmanship. The formations were 10 to 100 feet high and 1 to 12 feet thick, and their sides perfectly parallel. The stone of the walls are formed is black, dense, and durable. Earth intermixed and cemented with small quantity of sand and a considerable portion of talc. What he was looking at was igneous dikes or fins. So they're basically natural formations. So this is the problem with not looking up what it is that you're talking about. This structure is perfectly natural, but he thinks that it's an actual created wall because that's what Lewis thought when he looked at it. He didn't understand geology too well. So yeah, there were no created walls kind of thing. Okay, well, don't forget that he thought that walls were that he thought that walls were a natural dike, like a natural dike were walls. Don't forget that. That's important. That's very important. No audio. We've lost the audio. We've lost the audio. Give me 1 second. 1 sec. I will try to fix. I will try to fix. I will try to fix. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna drop out for a second. I'm gonna reset this entire this entire stream. Give me 1 second. Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Did you miss me? Rabbit. Oh, share. Okay, so hopefully this has done the trick. So let me know. Let me know.
With him were manuscripts detailing his exploration of Indiana.
See what I mean? That if you can, someone tell me if you can hear the sound, like them talking. Someone, anybody, somebody, help me. Audio is good. Okay, good. But you can hear the speed at which he's talking, right? I had it on 1.5. Listen to it.
Including the bones at Sand Island, ancient armor found at Battle Creek, and the castle ruins at Rose Island.
Could you? That is insanely slow, right? I've got the playback speed on 1.5, and it like sounds normal. It's like I don't. It's so slow. Holy crap! Maybe it's his audience cannot absorb information quickly. I have no idea. It's very strange.
After his death, these manuscripts were archived at the Clark County Public Library for many years and seen by hundreds of researchers.
Sure.
But strangely, the sections detailing these odd findings were ripped out and stolen. And the armor sent to Thomas Jefferson, along with written details of the castle, is also gone. It was as if someone did not want the public to know.
What? That's so weird. Like, we still have accounts from Lewis and Clark. What are you talking about? We still have him saying, hey, these walls were built. We still have that. They're not gone. Like, we've got his account of these walls look like this and were tolerable workmanship and all of this stuff. He was just wrong. Like, this, we still have them. What are you talking about? So weird. So weird.
Thomas Jefferson commissioned the Court of Discovery to explore the western part of America. It was led by Meriwether Lewis and General Clark's younger brother, William Clark. Jefferson told them to look for any evidence of the white Indians that the elder Clark had mentioned and to bring back evidence. Lewis and Clark found a native people called the Mandans. Some of them had fair skin, blue eyes, and above average height.
I don't believe that in the slightest. I don't believe that. This sounds like Mormon stuff, to be honest with you. Like really they go in for the white race of people in the Americas. There's no. No.
Could these people be the descendants of giants from an unknown culture?
Why? Why couldn't they be descendants of Vikings?
Detailed these findings in their journals and sent artifacts back to Jefferson. Today, those sections of the journals are also missing. But are these just legends?
What? No, the Median tribe was not blonde hair and blue-eyed. No, they weren't. No. What? But they're missing. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
Coincidences, or a sinister plot to hide ancient history. this could all be dismissed as campfire stories from the frontier, but the finding of unusual artifacts and their strange disappearances kept on happening. As the United States expanded from the East Coast, deep forests were cleared for houses and towns, and in the process, uncovered many unusual things that had never been seen before. Abandoned ancient cities were found on the frontier, and their exotic contents were unearthed.
Is that exotic contents? Is that what? Oh yeah, really exotic there. Yeah. Oh, a pot. I've never seen a pot before. So exotic. A bone flute. Who would have thought it? What? It's just normal, like things that the Native Americans had and used in everyday life. I don't. What?
The question was, where should all of these curiosities be stored?
In museums? Like you're taking literal shots of them? What?
And thus begins a very strange story.
Is the story true? That's the question. Is the story true? Is the question that I have.
Before there was a Smithsonian, there was the Columbian Institute, established in 1816. Headquartered in Washington, its stated goal, promoting useful knowledge. Board were 3 former United States presidents, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison,
Okay.
as well as 3 future ones, James Monroe, John Quincy Adams, and Andrew Jackson. It started to take on an old boys network vibe, bordering.
Yeah. No, these institutions, no, totally would have like old boys network, but like to say the institutions around the times of the founding fathers had an old boys network vibe. Oh yeah, like I don't dispute that. If there's one thing that these guys did, it is have sort of a old boys network vibe. Yes, yeah, that was sort of patriarchy and misogyny in the time of colonialization. Is that even under dispute? Is that under dispute? Oh yeah, absolutely. And I can tell that was an Atlantean flute. Like that wasn't just an ordinary flute made by, Native Americans. That was definitely a flute with advanced technology.
On the sinister. How many clubs do you know of with 3 former and 3 future presidents?
What? Well, here's the thing. I can name a club with 3 former and 3 future presidents. The Republican Party, maybe, or the Democratic Party. Is that a club? Yeah, you have to join and register and be a member. Do they have former and future presidents? Yeah, they do. What?
Not only that, what kind of information or things would unite them? Adding to the speculation, James Monroe and Andrew Jackson were Freemasons.
But not the rest of them. Why weren't the rest of them Freemasons? Are they Illuminati instead? Is that what's going on? Okay.
If there were secrets to be kept, the Columbian Institute Board had the right people. Plans were made to create a great repository of deep knowledge, a modern-day Library of Alexandria. A botanical garden was built to house the wonders of the natural world, as well as the first national museum.
Yeah. They were deists, a lot of them, and they were naturalists, a lot of them, complete naturalists. A lot of them, especially Benjamin Franklin, for instance, was sort of a very strong. That they used to call them natural philosophers, which were basically the precursors to science. None of this is extraordinary at all. they were the minds of their generation, that, in that area, of course. So in Northern America, they were the great thinkers of their generation. So I don't know why they would be not responsible for creation of museums and art galleries and all kinds of things. What has this got to do with anything?
Housing curiosities from zoology, fossils, minerals.
And quite frankly, it's good that they did. Oh, hi, Marty. It's really good that they did. Why are we upset that the some of the greatest thinkers of the North America, circa late 1700s, early 1800s, created museums and put artifacts on display and put skeletons on display and generally tried to understand the world better? Why is that a problem? I'm so confused as to why that's a problem. I'm so confused by this.
And archaeology. These collections were so important that Congress was briefed 85 times.
The government was briefed upon the collections that the museum was collecting. What is that unusual? Is this something we should be worried? What? Public museums brief the government on what they're doing? No, really? What? Who do you think gives public museums their funding to do what they're doing? Where do you think that public museums get their money to do what it is that they are in fact doing? I feel like this person doesn't understand anything about museums or archaeology or the government or basic life at all, in Native American culture. I am so confused as to why any of this is a problem.
But a truly bizarre event propelled the museum and its activities to an entirely different level.
Oh, what was
it? In 1826, James Smithson, a British scientist that had never once set foot in America, wrote his last will and testament. He would leave his entire fortune to his nephew, Henry James Dickinson. However, the will had an unusual clause, should Henry not survive to adulthood. I then bequeath the whole of my property to the United States of America to found at Washington, under the name of the Smithsonian Institution, an establishment for the increase and diffusion of knowledge among men.
Yeah, it was seen as a very virtuous thing to do. Like, why like people would give their estates to museums and to educational institutions. I don't understand why that's a problem. It was seen as a very virtuous thing to do. It still is. People donate their bodies to science all the time. People donate their estate. They'll assign a portion to educational institutions. I don't understand. Smith never wrote or discussed his bequeath with friends and stuff like that. Okay. There's speculation of why he did it. Apparently, some say he was inspired by the Royal Institution, which was dedicated to using scientific knowledge to improve human conditions. Some speculate it was because he was denied his father's legacy, like he had to make it on his own. I don't see the problem with that. He wanted to make an establishment to increase in knowledge among people. I don't see the problem with that. I mean, some people donate their estates to their cat. Oh, it's a conspiracy. I'm so like the amount of nothing burger in here is so incredible.
Henry died in 1835 without any heirs. Thus, the United States government was given 104,960 gold coins. In today's money, that gold would be worth at least $220 million.
Yeah, okay. So he had no heirs. He basically had nobody to pass his estate down to. So he gifted it for the betterment of humanity, to create a museum and an institution for furthering knowledge. Sounds like an awesome dude. I gotta say, sounds like an awesome, awesome dude. Yeah, no, I know. It's just, it's unbelievable how sort of the leaps of, well, logic that this man does. Like, he gifted his estate because he had no heirs to science, therefore conspiracy. It's very, very strange. It's very strange.
And not only is the Smithsonian named after him, his final remains are.
Who should it be named after? Should it be the Rogeronium? It should be named after you. Why wouldn't we name it after the person that donated his entire estate to create it? What are you talking about?
Are entombed there, underneath the castle.
Okay. So they buried him underneath the institution that he created to better knowledge among humans. Okay, well, I still don't get. Oh, it's Illuminati remains. I forgot. It's a spooky skeleton. It's an evil Illuminati skeleton. They're going to bring him back to life. I don't know where this guy is going.
Because dead people and weird ancient relics seem to go together. There are two serpents on the side of the sarcophagus. Is it?
Serpents.
Just fancy ornamentation? Or does it symbolize a deeper message?
No, it's ornamentation. The serpent is actually associated with medicine as well. Like a serpent, two serpents around a staff is actually I can't remember the name of it. There's a name for it, the symbol. And in Greek history, serpents have been associated with good luck. Around staff. So there's a medical symbol that is caduceus. It's a short staff entwined by two serpents, sometimes surmounted by wings. It basically represents medicine, and the serpent has long been associated with good luck and good fortune. Thank you, Marty. Yeah, no, I got you. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right, but I'm aware it had that name.
Since ancient times, serpents have been venerated for their patience, deadliness, and wisdom.
Sure about deadliness. Most of the serpents in Greece, where it originally comes from, weren't venomous, so they were seen as good omens, not bad ones. It's only us and our familiarity with very venomous serpents that has sort of provoked this idea that they are dangerous. And I mean, even in the Middle East, you get very venomous serpents, but not around Greece, which is where it originated from.
The Egyptian headdress was adorned with a serpent. In the Bible, it was a serpent that convinced Eve to eat from the.
Here's the Bible. Buckle up, people. Here's where the wild ride begins. This is the real wild ride.
Tree of knowledge, the fruit forbidden by God. The serpent convinced Eve that eating the fruit would make she and Adam wise like gods, thus cursing the human race. The serpent has long been associated with the occult and Freemasonry.
Has it? Is this? I don't think the serpent is associated with Freemasonry. I don't think so, and I don't usually see. I mean, this is the Illuminati triangle kind of thing. I don't think that. I don't really see the serpent around it a lot, to be honest with you. I don't. Maybe it is. I don't know if it is, though.
Smithson himself was a Freemason. And though he was buried in Genoa, Italy, he was exhumed by Alexander Graham Bell, famous inventor of the telephone, and a fellow Freemason. Their remains were documented before being transported to the Smithsonian.
Was he a Freemason? I'm not 100% sure about that. And even if he was, so what? As we've said, like Freemasonry isn't the sort of um the nefarious thing that you think it is. It's just a trade guild. Okay.
This is the actual skull of James Smithson. The question.
Well, it doesn't have horns. I'm not convinced. There is no horns on that skull. I'm not convinced. It doesn't have horns, so it can't be evil. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Remains, was the money he provided simply a gift, an attempt to immortalize his name? Or was it a trust to preserve secret, ancient knowledge?
It was a gift to further the knowledge of humanity, is what he said. I mean, we're doing a really long leap to go, well, he gave this money in order to further knowledge among humanity, but really his real aim was to create a society to keep things hidden from humanity. Like, why would we think that? It's really weird.
The start of the Smithsonian was very unusual, but that was just a warm-up for the legend it would become, with mysterious activities that continue to this day.
What mysterious activities is the Smithsonian doing? Do you care to elaborate on that?
To understand why, we return to Indiana, where the Smithsonian's foundation was conceptualized. The Smithsonian was founded by two brothers from New Harmony, Indiana. David Owen was a renowned geologist, and Robert Dale Owen, an Indiana congressman.
Owen museums. There was a guy called Owens that opened up museums. I'm not there was Sir Richard Owens opened up museums to people, and he was a terrible person, but he actually did a great service opening up museums. I don't think they're talking about him, but let's find out what these things, like, he's not actually showing any evidence of this whatsoever.
They were sons of the wealthy socialist, Robert Owen, the founder of New Harmony, Indiana, and a self-confessed atheist.
Oh no, he's an atheist. He's an atheist. Run for the hills. Run for the hills. Atheists have never done anything that is in any way helpful to anybody. Oh my God. He's an atheist. Can you believe that? And he was a socialist as well. Wow. Wow. Obviously the devil. Obviously. Yeah, it's definitely a socialist. I might be looking at the wrong Owen here. No, it's the same one. Experimental Socialistic Community at New Harmony, Indiana. Is that what he's talking about? New Harmony is a socialist utopia? Oh no. What are we going to do? Owen's biggest success was in support of youth education and early childcare. As a pioneer in Britain, notably Scotland, he provided an alternative to the normal authoritarian approach to child education. Supporters of the methods argued the manners of children brought up under his system were more graceful, genial, and unconstrained. Health, plenty of contentment prevailed. Drunkenness was almost unknown, and illegitimacy extremely rare. Owen's relations with his workers remained excellent, and operations at the mill proceeded in a smooth, regular, and commercially successful way. Wow. And so he advocated improvements in workers' rights, child labor laws, and free education for children. What a freaking monster. What a freaking monster. Owen was a deist. He wasn't an atheist, he was a deist. Yeah, I mean, he seems like an awesome dude to me. You know, it displeased his investors, and he was forced him to arrange a share to buy a share in his business. But he still advocated, and he was a deist, criticized organized religion and developed a belief system of his own. So no, he wasn't an atheist, he was a deist. But he seems like an awesome dude, quite frankly. Yeah. Well, it turns out that when you provide people with good education, good a social support structure, a way for them to address their problems, that sort of alcoholism goes markedly down. Strangely enough, it's one of those things that we've noticed, but yeah.
And just like their father, they had a grand vision for the future based on science and a divorce from religion.
Yeah, but he wasn't an atheist. He was a deist.
From the very start, they set up Smithsonian operations in a very...
Is this guy like lamenting secularism or something? Oh, they didn't want a government influenced by religion. Yeah, that's kind of what America was founded on. That was the whole point. Maybe he's one of those people that think that America was founded as a Christian nation, even though it basically has, freedom of religion. Anyway.
In a very curious way. Not only would the Smithsonian have the equivalent of about $220 million, David and Robert petitioned Congress for perpetual funding.
Sure. I mean, they're doing a service to people. They're a non-profit. Why shouldn't the government support them? I'm confused. I'm very confused.
Funding has continued for over 170 years, without question.
I think they do get questioned. That it's not without question. No, they can't just like spend it on whatever. No, that's patently false. What wasn't he saying that they had like multiple like the Smithsonian had all those meetings with the government? What do you think they were about? They were probably questions of what they're doing with the funding. So they had all these meetings. That's bad because that's conspiracy, but they're able to do whatever without question. Don't you think some of them are oversight by the government of what the Smithsonian is doing because they're giving it money? Could that be the case? They have oversight hearings. I see oversight hearings on C-SPAN. They have hearings. The U.S. Senate on Committee on Rules and Administration have Smithsonian Institution hearings, oversight hearings. What are you talking about? Dude, like seriously, fact check one thing in this entire debacle, please. Please, I'm begging you.
At the same time, the Smithsonian is not part of the government, like the military.
Correct, it's a non-profit. Like the military. The military is part of the... Okay. So here's the thing. We've got to talk about stuff in the right context. Like when we're talking about state apparatuses, the government's sort of very specific. So they're the people who are governing, like the administration, for instance, like the Bush administration or the Obama administration or whatever. They're part of the executive part of the government. So the government has three branches: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. The administration is part of the executive branch of the government, right? They're the ones that basically tell people what to do on a day-to-day basis. They run the rest of it, including the bureaucracy, which is part of the executive. The police are part of the government. The military is part of the government. It is a government organization. It's run by the government. It's not separate, but it's not part of the executive. The judicial is a separate section. It makes rulings on laws, and the legislative is the part that makes those laws. So that's the Houses of Parliament. Now, the Smithsonian is a non-profit organization. It's not part of the government. Just because the government gives it money doesn't mean that it's part of the government. It's like having a private hospital, for instance. It's not part of the government, even though the government may give it money, because that's what's in the best interest for the people. There's a reason why that happens. So, you know, these organizations, but saying, oh, like the military, it's not part of the government. No, that's true. The military is still a state apparatus. The Smithsonian is not. It's a private non-profit organization that collects money by the government because what it is doing is in the best interests of the people. And there is oversight. There is committee things on whether it still gets the money. Oh, boy.
FBI, or other agencies. Legally, the Smithsonian is a trust.
Mm-hmm.
This means...
Yeah, but the army is not a trust. Right? That's not a trust. It's different.
Several things. The first is that it doesn't have the same accountability as a branch of the government.
Does it have the same... No, it doesn't have the same obligations as the government, correct? It has to abide by what it has set up to be its purpose. It's still, because it gets government funding, it is still subject to government oversight, though. Or else they'll just take away the money and not pay it anything. But yes, as a non-profit organization, they are accountable to their board and their the terms of their organization, what it was set up to do. But they still have to work within the law. You know, it's not like they just get to do anything they want because they're not accountable directly to the government, which they are because they get oversight for their funding. But, you know, that aside, it's not like they could just do anything they want. They still have to work within the bounds of, say, you know, keeping accurate business records, not committing fraud by telling people lies. You know, they can't do this and get away with it as a non-profit organization. They still have to work within the regulations provided to non-profit organizations. They don't get a pass on that.
And more importantly, the Freedom of Information Act, known as FOIA, doesn't apply. This means taxpayers cannot legally investigate Smithsonian operations.
Yeah, freedom of information requests is for the government, and they're not part of the government. You know, I think, you know, you'd be the same with doing a FOIA request to KFC for their secret herbs and spices. You can't do that. FOIA is for... Why has he got a FOIA request for Polybius arcade game? Okay, Polybius is a urban legend from an urban legend. What the hell have I found here? The legend describes the game as a part of a government-run crowdsourced psychology experiment based in Portland, Oregon. Gameplay supposedly produced intense psychoactive and addictive effects in the play. Oh my god, it's an urban legend of an arcade game run by the CIA to make everybody psychotic. Oh, this is just so good. Oh, this is so good. Oh, this is gold. This is absolute gold. Based on your information provided, we conducted a search of the central record system. We're unable to identify any file records responsive to your request. Yeah, because it's an urban legend. Did this guy send it in? Oh, I would love if this is the guy that sent it in. Like, that would be so good. Oh, it is on sort of Wikipedia though, so why use a FOIA request for an urban legend of a game that never existed in the first place? Why show that as your FOIA request? I don't know. This man is weird. A FOIA request for an urban legend. Hello, I'm doing a FOIA request on Bigfoot. I want all the information the government has on the Sasquatch. Please. I'm doing a FOIA information request for Bigfoot Jesus. I want all of the information the government has on Bigfoot Jesus.
Or demand to see records unless they can prove a crime has been committed. As you might imagine, this provides the
Yeah. The thing is that they provide what they're doing. You just don't believe them. That's the thing. Like, even if you did get an information request off them and they just said, hey, this is what we're doing, you still wouldn't believe them. Let's face it. He still wouldn't believe them. I don't know why we would bother.
provides the Smithsonian with a great deal of freedom to operate however they like, while also creating a great deal of public suspicion.
No, they can't operate however they like. They get oversight by the government in order to get funding from the government, and they still have to adhere to all of the regulations surrounding an independent nonprofit. It's not like they can just, assassinate people and... Like, what do you think they're doing over there? They still provide tax records and sort of, employment records and all kinds of records. You know what? I've got a funny feeling he doesn't feel the same about churches not providing anything they do either. And churches don't even have to provide financial records, whereas I think nonprofits do. They do over here. I'm not sure about in America. Sorry, it's showing me for Australia, which they do have to provide it in Australia. Yeah, so yes, nonprofits are required to submit their financial statements and other information, including the salaries of directors, officers, and key employees to the IRS. Right. So they do have an obligation for financial transparency. So I don't know what you want out of them. Like, if you go to a company and say, hey, I want day-to-day operations, they're going to say no. I don't know why they'd provide that. And nonprofits are usually less secretive than your average company, that is like a tech company or something, is usually way more secret and has way more security than a nonprofit, just because of the nature of what they're doing. I mean, the Smithsonian would have to have pretty good security because it's handling things that are worth a lot of money. People will steal artifacts. We've seen that before.
And just maybe, that suspicion is not unfounded. In 1836, in addition to the $220 million in perpetual annual funding, Congress also approved the United States Exploring Expedition. The flagship was the USS Vincennes, as in Vincennes, Indiana. It commandeered 7 warships and 350 men. Its mission, to explore and retrieve artifacts from across the globe. Thousands of exotic plants, birds, insects, and seeds were collected. The 4-year expedition collected over 4,000 exotic and unusual artifacts. These had no known benefit to the United States, other than the Smithsonian wanted them. An incredible number of maps were created, in particular, 280 islands in the Pacific Ocean, and 1,500 miles of the Antarctic coastline.
Okay, well, Kiwi Burb, you wanted Easter Island. We have the Easter Island. Yes. And yeah, this was sort of the age of discovery. Yeah, they sent a lot of people out there.
Conspiracy theorists are quick to note that the Pacific Islands are the home of many mysterious cultures, including Easter Island.
Conspiracy theorists are quick to note. Yes, I've noticed that too. Conspiracy theorists are always quick to note. They're very quick to note. They don't actually, investigate a lot, but they are very quick to note. Yes, I agree. Maybe they shouldn't be so quick to note and actually look it up first.
And Antarctica has long been suspected of hiding an ancient advanced culture underneath the ice.
Not really, no. It's long been suspected. Yeah, not by anybody with any knowledge of Antarctica. Uh-huh.
Perhaps even the legend of Atlantis. But the bigger question, why did it take 7 warships and 350 men to collect things for a museum?
Because the people that had the things usually didn't want to give the things up, and having a warship makes it easier to get the things off of the poor people that just want to hold on to their things. And you know, the seas are very, very big. You know, it's why did it take warships to steal artifacts? You want to think about that for a second? You wanna think about that? Why did they have to send warships out to take people's stuff away from them? Because people didn't want their stuff taken away from them. Man, and this guy's basically why colonialization? Why artifact theft from other countries? Because they were jerks? Because they thought themselves superior to every single other people out there? Because they thought that might makes right? Because they thought they had a divine right to frigging near everything? You know, pick and choose. People, colonialists were jerks. Like, that's basically it. They were complete assholes. They were arrogant assholes. And what but we kind of and yeah, I'm using presentism. I'm definitely using presentism. They were a product of their society, their time, their culture, their generation, all of these things. They didn't necessarily know how big a jerks they were being. You know, we know now they were jerks. Yeah, they were absolute horrific people. But that was their culture at the time. And, you know, we don't try and judge them now, because if we lived in their culture at their time, we would probably be convinced by the society that our culture had a right to do that. All we can do is sort of look correctly on the past and not repeat the mistakes of the past.
And why would Congress authorize such a huge effort and money? What was clear is that the Smithsonian had an unreal amount of power and influence, seemingly able to secure federal money and resources for anything they wanted to do. Some would even say, if the Smithsonian wants something, they'll get it, even if it's yours.
Yeah, we agree. Sure. Yeah. It was a bad time. We still have the hangover of that attitude today. I get it. But sort of saying, hey, this is what the Smithsonian was like back then, they have to be the same now, is a fallacy. It really is. Like, you're sort of saying, hey, because say Volkswagen made cars for the Nazis, then they're Nazis today. And that's not true. Or because you know, because the Freemasons were secretive, they've got to be, you know, this thing now. That's not true. It's this weird juxtaposition between what a organization was doing back then to what they're doing today. Things change. Organizations change with the culture. That's what happens. I'm prepared to bet that this guy doesn't think the church is doing the same thing it used to do back in the Inquisition. But that's how he treats everything that he's suspicious about.
A dark veil of suspicion starts with the story of David Dale Owen, one of the founders of the Smithsonian. A native of New Harmony, Indiana.
Didn't you talk about this guy before? Dave Owen, one of the founders? I'm pretty sure he talked about this guy before. Okay.
He was a highly respected geologist. In fact, the first state geologist of Indiana.
Okay.
During his many expeditions, he gathered a massive personal collection of curiosities that he stored at New Harmony.
Okay. So New Harmony was the sort of socialist utopia that James Smithson created, that sort of ran really well and had workers' rights and was basically a really good model for how to run a society and was very productive.
First, at the former Harmonist Meeting House, and then the former granary. It was here that over 85,000 items were cataloged.
Okay.
He had rare fossils, minerals, zoology and fauna samples, and ancient artifacts from unknown cultures from his many expeditions.
Okay.
His collection grew so large that he built his own museum. But before he could move the collection, he tragically died in 1860 at just 53 years old. Part of his collection was sent to Frankfort, Kentucky, but none of it survives to this day.
None of it survives to this day. He was a geologist, wasn't he? What was the guy's name? Yeah, but I'm just getting Richard Owens, who was English. I'm very aware of who he was.
From unknown cultures. Starts with the story of David Dale Owen, one of the
David Dale Owen. Okay. So he did a collection in New Harmony. Yeah, so him and his an architect developed primary plans for the Smithsonian. Federal Service headquarters were relocated to the Smithsonian Institution building. Yeah, at the time of Owen's death, his museum included 85,000 items. His collection of specimens, minerals, and crystals, most of these specimens have been lost or destroyed. His rival, Joseph Granville Norwood, his colleague, criticized Owen for enlarging his personal collection of specimens while working on public surveys. So this is personal collection. Owen shipped 18 boxes of specimens to Washington, D.C., where they became part collections of the Smithsonian Institute. He provided specimens from a museum at Frankfort, Kentucky, established a collection of specimens at Little Rock, Arkansas. The best of specimens found their way into the New Harmony Museum. Due to the outbreak of the American Civil War and other reasons, believes unlikely. So it's due to the Civil War that they got destroyed. Yeah. So in 1869, the Owen family sold his collections. It was moved to a museum on the former site of the Indiana University campus in Bloomington. In July 1883, a fire destroyed the building. Like, so none of this is like a conspiracy to destroy his stuff. He sent a lot onto museums that was recovered, but a lot of it basically got damaged in the Civil War, or the fire that broke out in his collection, or on the campus that his collection was in. None of it is this conspiracy that he thinks it is.
fauna samples and ancient artifacts from unknown cultures from his many expeditions. 3 years old. Part of his collection was sent to Frankfort, Kentucky, but none of it survives to this day. Not a single identifiable item.
Frankfort, Kentucky. Yeah, it did. What? No. I want to provide specimens for a museum at Frankfort, Kentucky, and establish collections of specimens at Little Rock, Arkansas. No, they did. I mean, they're saying that they think it's unlikely that it survived. Okay. They became part of the Gurley collection at the University of Chicago and are housed at the Field Museum of Natural History. They're still at the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago. Like, they're still there. I mean, it's horrible that a fire destroyed a whole bunch of stuff, but like he still has artifacts attributed to him in Chicago. So yeah, no, it's not the conspiracy that he thinks it is.
Item. This is blamed on the Civil War, with Confederate soldiers raiding Frankfurt in 1862.
Yeah. This is blamed on the Civil War because nobody in a war would ever take artifacts and interesting things from a museum. No, that would never happen. That would never happen. Never. It's everyone knows soldiers don't loot things.
They even attacked the armory, where bullet holes can be found today. It's unclear if the artifacts were truly destroyed, or simply carried away during the chaos. Some of the collection was sent to Indiana University. Unbelievably, in 1883, a massive fire ripped through the building where they were stored.
Why is that unbelievable? Wait, why is that unbelievable? It's a fire. We didn't have sprinkler systems back then. I don't know what he's expecting. Like, yeah, fire outbreaks happen. It's really bad luck, but I don't see a conspiracy here. He acknowledges that, hey, Civil War happened and the museum was raided. And he acknowledges, hey, a fire ripped through this building. What?
Stored. According to the university, all of the David Owen collection was destroyed. Question: how do you destroy fossils and artifacts made of stone with a fire?
Yeah, the heat of a fire can get very, very, very hot, like incredibly hot. It will destroy artifacts.
The bulk of the collection was sent to the Smithsonian in 18 shipping crates. It's assumed, as both a founder of the Smithsonian and having one of the finest collections in the world, that his best stuff was sent there.
Probably, yeah.
But today, not a single item from David Owen is in their catalog. How do you lose an entire warehouse of 85,000 items, or even 18 shipping crates? An entire life's work, with thousands of artifacts, completely gone without a trace. Edward Travers Cox was the third Indiana state geologist. He was an understudy of David Owen. Edward's adventures in Indiana are the stuff of legends, a real life.
Yeah, I just want to share something with you. In the Smithsonian archives. So this is the Smithsonian Institute. Like, this took 2 seconds, right? This is the Smithsonian David Dale Owens Surveys, CA. What? Field book documents. Yeah, they've got stuff by David Dale Owens in there. I mean, it is the survey. I don't know what you're expecting. I suppose he's expecting all of the samples and stuff. I'm not sure if that was actually sent. I don't know.
Real life Indiana Jones. He was assisted by an equally impressive ally, Professor William Borden of Providence, Indiana. Together, their exploits read like a storybook. These amazing finds were documented in the 1879 Indiana Geology Report. They found numerous ancient structures across Indiana.
Yeah, so they're the mounds in Indiana. They're the sort of things that I mentioned at the start. They're definitely mounds, but they're Native American mounds. They're not giant mounds.
These range from ancient burial mounds and earthworks.
No.
to large balls made of quarried stone, and with them, ancient artifacts. These artifacts were odd. They did not resemble those of known Native American tribes. They more closely resembled those found in Central and South America. And yet, they were slightly...
I don't think anybody thinks that. I don't think anybody actually thinks that. And so the Native Americans, they did quarry stone. I don't see the problem with that.
They were slightly different from that. Edward documented the earthworks at Mount State Park. These ancient structures predict yearly equinoxes and solstices. This challenges the idea that early people in the Americas were simple hunter-gatherers.
Yeah, no, nobody thinks that. No, nobody. We think that they had a rich and complex culture and sort of an understanding of a lot of things. Like, we don't think that they were primitive. Like, as he pointed out, oh, they lived in caves. No, they didn't live in caves. They weren't Neolithic people. They were a very sophisticated people. I don't. Nobody is saying that.
Gatherers. Edward Cox and William Borden revisited Rose Island, confirming what George Rogers Clark called ancient castle ruins. While there was still evidence of the castle, much of it had been carried away by locals to build foundations for houses and bridges.
Yeah, that was actually a volcanic dike. It wasn't a castle wall that Clark found. Well, it was actually Lewis that found it, but like, it wasn't what they said it was. That's a mistake.
In 1878, Edward mapped the mysterious Wyandotte Cave.
Okay.
With well over 9 miles of passages, it had been used by an unknown prehistoric people. Deep within its interior, ancient people took tree bark torches and mined chert for tools and weapons.
Yes, the Native Americans did mine stone. I don't know why this is in contention. Like, he's kind of going, oh, well, they weren't simple like you said. They were mining stone. No, we knew they mined stone. No, nobody's saying that they... Oh, boy. Roger the Shrubber. Well, it's actually been, it's about halfway through. I might wind it up here and do a part 2, my first part 2 of Fundamentalist Fails. But this is absolutely awesome. It's like somebody who got wrong information about the Native Americans and said, but wait, everything I know is wrong. Yeah, but they like, the people that study this don't think what you think. They're not saying that, hey, they were these primitive cave people that just did hunter-gathering and didn't do any sophisticated things at all. No, that's what... Nobody is saying that. Like, nobody. Nobody's saying that. This is wild. It was a wild ride, but not for the reasons that Roger is saying. Absolutely not for the reasons Roger is saying. But that's half an hour of a 1 hour. Let's call it generously a documentary. One of the things I've noticed, though, is that he doesn't cite anything. He doesn't provide you with how he knows what he knows. He just sort of says, this is the way it is. He doesn't really, and all of his sources, the ones that he does mention, are back in the 1700s and 1800s, when our knowledge of geology, our knowledge of Native American culture, our knowledge wasn't particularly great. You know, like, it just wasn't great. The wall that Lewis was talking about of the ancient castle that he described, that was a volcanic dike. We've analyzed it in the meantime. We know what it is. It's just, yeah, he kind of just has the wrong idea about what, and sort of giving papers from back in the 1700s, 1800s. They used to write erroneous stuff all the time. They would hear somebody say, hey, I found giant bones, and show them mastodon bones, and they would go, wow, the paper, we found giant bones. That doesn't mean we should believe it today. And this whole conspiracy about the Smithsonian getting rid of things and destroying giant skeletons, it was a fake thing. He even showed an example of giants that was a fraud, which was a guy who was in an argument about there being giants, doing a fraud to show that people will believe the most absurd stuff if they want to believe it. That's why he did that fraud. I mean, yes, he made money off of it, but it was also to show his friend who believes in giants that if you believe something already, you will be convinced by the most lousy evidence in the universe. And here you are believing the fraud that he perpetrated to show how willing people are to believe the most ludicrous stuff because they want to believe it. Like, so congratulations. 200 years later, you're proving some guy's point. Congrats. But I will be back next week to complete this. I'll do a part 2. It's so good. I want to thank, especially from the bottom of my heart, Pinworm sent this suggestion through, and it's been a wild ride. Completely wild ride. I love it. It's just so wacky and such tenuous links between things. It's hilarious. Him showing a known fraud as evidence of giants is just hilarious as well. You know, I think that he is sort of doing, I think he's doing sort of casual racist presentism kind of thing. Like, these people were primitive, so they couldn't have worked stone or done these stone things or created stone walls. No, just because they lived a long time ago doesn't mean they were stupid. And just because the Native American cultures were nomadic and had a different culture than us doesn't mean they were unsophisticated or didn't have access to certain technologies that we assume, you know, that he assumes they didn't. That doesn't mean that. But I want to thank you so much for joining me. We've just hit 2K. The ride will be wild from here on, so I hope you can join me as I ride this weird journey that I'm on. I want to thank all of you for giving me your time, and I hope you've enjoyed yourself. I've had a blast. So thanks for joining me here. Yeah, if you do want to like and subscribe and hit all the buttons, that would help me out a great deal, and I always appreciate it. If you've got any suggestions, leave them in the comments. If you've got any comments on the Roger or his amazingly misguided documentary here, please do leave a comment. It helps me out a great deal as well. And I do love to read them. I do read them, even if I don't respond to everyone. I try to respond as much as possible, but sometimes I don't get it. But don't forget to be kind to yourself and be kind to others, especially older civilizations that may be misunderstood. Be kind to them as well. Please, Roger, I'm begging you. But take care. And I will see you in the next one. Oh, what do I have coming up? I've got a completion of the debate that I was reviewing on my Saturday night for Eastern time. That's going to be Should We Bomb Israel, which is important. Unfortunately, Ember's going to be away for that one, so I will be doing it solo, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. It does go a bit faster just because there's one person commenting instead of two, but we will miss Ember. But she will be back, and we'll have a celebration for the 2K. I hope you can join me. That would be fantastic. But take care, all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.